Just remember to mute your speakers so that the clicking doesn't take over. But now it's live.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Donna Levinson, and I have the privilege of being the Director of Admissions for our MBA program at MIT Sloan. I am so excited to be here with you today to kick off our Women's Week, where we currently have over 1,100 women registered to participate in a variety of events throughout the week. Our objective is to provide you with a slice into what it is like to be at MIT Sloan, the MIT Sloan experience from a woman's perspective. And to help me do that today, I am joined by Olivia Linder from our Executive MBA program and Laurel Arian from our Sloan Fellows program, as well as 5 students and alums from these 3 programs who are going to help share their experiences with you. We are so excited to be able to share with you what it is like and to give you the opportunity to see that at MIT Sloan, diversity plays an incredibly important role in your MIT Sloan experience, and women contribute to that in a variety of different ways. I myself am an alum, and when I was here many years ago, the entire MIT population was roughly 20% women, and my MBA, well actually it was an MS class, was slightly less than that. Today I am very excited to share that the MIT campus overall is roughly 50% female, and that for our incoming MBA class for the fall of 2015, we will have over 40% of female. So we're really, really excited about that. We're also excited, I know I'm saying excited a lot, but we are, that we are actually sharing with you several options. So it's not just the 2-year MBA, but also an executive MBA, as well as the 1-year Sloan Fellows program. So you can think through, for your own personal interests and needs, what might be the best fit for you. Please also note that in addition to my facilitating the panel, we are also going to take questions from you, and after going through our panel conversation and discussions, we will have the panelists respond to your questions as well. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our panelists. If each one of you could please share with us your name and what program you are involved in, and if you have a specific area of focus, I think that would be terrific. And I'd like to begin with Jessica Zandri, who is an MBA class of 2016.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I am, as Donna said, an MBA student. I'm about to start my 2nd year. My focus at Sloan is, well, you could actually say it's kind of a broad focus. I'm in the enterprise management track, which is one of 3 tracks offered through the MBA program, and it is a combination of strategy, marketing, and operations. So that's what I mean when I say that I have kind of a broad focus, which sounds like an oxymoron.
Okay, thank you. Also, we have Ji Lee, MBA, also class of 2016.
Hi everyone, my name is Ji Lee. I am focusing on entrepreneurship, so I have a small business in New York City, and I'm continuing to look at other startup opportunities while I'm on campus. Thanks, Donna.
Oh, sure. Inga Lennis, EMBA class of 2014.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm the EMBA class of 2014. I'm a physician at Mass General Hospital and the Director of Clinical Quality and Operations here in the Cancer Center. I graduated 2 years ago, and my focus really when in the Executive MBA program was on healthcare and operations.
And we have Nora Brion, Sloan Fellow, class of 13.
Hi everyone, I'm Nora. I'm from Argentina, Buenos Aires. I went to Sloan between years 2012-2013, and I've been when I went there, I was working mostly on international logistics. I came back to the same business. I work for my family company, and after Sloan, I started. My life changed basically, and my interest became broader, and I started also working in education, and I'm also working on a startup based on, let's say, biotech, to make a long story short. Then I can tell you more later.
Okay, thank you very much. So I want to begin with, I think, where most of our audience is right now. Many of you are currently researching what your options are. I would love for a few of the panelists to talk about, when researching schools, what really stood out for you? Why MIT Sloan? How did you know you had found your fit? And if Jessica, you could begin, that would be terrific.
Sure. So this is actually a pretty easy question for me. I will highlight a few of the things. I mean, there were a lot of reasons, but I'll just boil it down to a few of the things that really attracted me to Sloan. So the first thing was the location. And what I mean by that is, well, first of all, I love Boston. I am a transplant from the West Coast, so coming out here, a little bit of a shocker with the winter that we've had. But I do love the city, and more importantly, I think that having a school that's in the city or near a city is actually very important for opening up opportunities, because there are so many companies, so many people who are just in the area who can drop by. It's very easy to connect students with people from industry. It's very easy to get companies to sign up to work on projects with us in class. So that's what I mean by the location. So being near a large city, and especially one like Boston, which has a lot of things going for it. Another thing is the size of the class. So I went to a large undergrad. I went to Berkeley, which was a big public school. And while I love that, I knew that for my MBA, I really wanted kind of the opposite. I wanted to try out a much smaller size class, because I think it makes a big difference in terms of the culture and how people interact with each other. And I just wanted to have that very tight-knit community, and that's what I found at Sloan. Ability. And
Inga?
as you know, or as you may now know, there is only a one-semester core here, and I have a background in business and economics, so I didn't want to come here and be forced to repeat everything that I had already taken as an undergrad. So only having one semester of core and then full flexibility to do whatever I wanted, that was very important to me as well. And then just very quickly, the last thing I'll say is I think that the culture here is a really, really great fit for me. Everyone is super nice. Everything here is very, very student-driven, and I think that also ties into the flexibility piece. You do what you want, you don't do what you don't want, and you make your own decisions with the faculty administration to help you along but never tell you what to do. So I'll just wrap it up there.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that before. Inga, now how about you?
Sure. So I knew I was going to continue to work when I pursued my MBA, so I needed an executive program that was close to Boston. I'm based. And I think for me, the major decision point was whether I pursued an MBA that had a specific healthcare focus, or one that was a little bit more broad. And I really love the fact that the MIT MBA has a basis in science and technology based on the MIT affiliations, but wasn't necessarily a healthcare MBA. I have my master's in public health already, and I went through medical school, so I wanted something different that really taught me about other industries, because I think that healthcare has a lot to learn from other industries, and really build the connections in the Boston ecosystem between our amazing healthcare facilities and some of the operations research and business research that's going on at MIT. So really that was the differentiator for me when I was looking at programs. I also have to say that I think that everything that Jessica said were things that I thought of as well. I think the close tight-knit community, the small community, but with a lot of tentacles and connections across the city, was something that really drew me to Sloan. And I had a great feeling. I went for my visit, and it felt like a great fit. The people I met felt like colleagues and friends, and that was probably the biggest, one of the biggest factors that played into my decision-making.
Great, thank you very much. Nora, how about you?
Well, first of all, I was not going to go to, I was accepted to Chicago. I was going to do the executive MBA program that you have choices. You can do it either in Chicago or you can do it in London, and you travel there once every between 5 to 8 weeks. And then I decided to change to a full-time program, the Sloan Fellows program. It's a mid-career MBA, so it's 1 full year that you take off from work. So that was one, maybe, that was a very, I realized afterwards when I finished, or while I was doing the program, that it makes a huge difference, at least for me, to have 1 year off when you're in the middle of your career, to have full immersion, and the connection you get to build with your classmates, I mean, you're living with them for a year. That's one part of it. And then the other reason, I think it's a very powerful reason, and a lot of students are not aware, it's that you go to MIT and you have access to basically two of the top business schools in the world. One's MIT Sloan and the other one's Harvard. And I had the chance to, through the cross-registration, I had the chance to go to Harvard to take classes in the business school, in the School of Education, and they're, at some point, they're complementary because you have very different disciplines, MIT and Harvard. So that's a very, very powerful reason I would, if I would do it again, I would I would choose MIT for a variety of reasons, but that's one that's very powerful. And you also, you get to build relationships with people from other schools, and that's, I don't think you have another school that offers this chance.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge that we have a panelist who just joined us, Grace Kermani, who is a Sloan Fellow, class of 2016. Hi, Grace. Thank you for joining us. If you may just introduce yourself to the group, let everybody know what your focus is, if you have an area of focus, and maybe what attracted you most to MIT Sloan.
Sure. Thank you, Donna. I'm a Sloan Fellow 2016, so just like Nora, who was just speaking, who was a few years before me. I've only been in the program about 2 months now. The reason I came here was because it was MIT, and the focus on innovation and technology really, for me, was a drawing factor. My background is in computer science and international business. My most recent role was in an innovation for a global telecoms company, and I had for the longest time been wanting to do an MBA. But, you know, work always kept putting that aside. The 2-year always put me off. So when I came on the website randomly looking for something and found a 1-year MBA mid-career, so it was the right amount of work experience they were asking for. It was the right focus. It was 1 year. It was concentrated, and just the attraction and draw, not just of MIT and the ecosystem here, but of the caliber of people this program was drawing in. For me, it was the only program I applied to. So for me, it was very clear this is the only program I want to go to. So I'm glad I got in.
Thank you very much. The MIT Sloan experience is not just about the classroom by any means. We have many, many activities that happen outside of the classroom. We have many clubs. We have somewhere between 60 and 70 clubs, depending on which year it is. One club in particular is our Sloan Women in Management Club, which is a student-led club. And I just would love for each of you to talk a little bit about, if you wouldn't mind, your outside of the classroom experience, what it has been like, what it has meant to you. And I think I'm going to start with G.
Sorry, I was just putting myself off of mute. Yeah, so I think that I love the experiences I've had outside of the classroom. One of the things that was really great for me was that I was working in a very creative field for about 8 years before Sloan, and I got really used to dealing with the folks that were just in my industry. And I think being able to meet so many international students from all various industries, and having the opportunity to not just work with them, but to play with them in the club settings or just hanging out with them after school was really awesome. So for me, I think what I really got outside of the classroom was being able to build an amazing network of friends and peers and colleagues from all over the world.
Thank you. Jessica?
Hi. Sorry, it's the same thing to mute. So, I mean, there's, as you mentioned, a ton of things that happens outside of the classroom, and I guess two of the things that I spend most of my time on outside of school are, one, all the various clubs, so swim is definitely one. I also lead the Leadership in Human Capital Club, so putting in a little plug for that right now. And those give me some really incredible opportunities to continue developing my leadership skills, to work with super smart, driven peers, learn how to pitch, learn how to market, learn how to work with all these very amazing people. And then the other thing is going on the tracks and going on all the trips that the school offers are just so valuable. They're not just so much fun, they're also very, very valuable, because it's those times that you spend away from campus, whether it's domestic or international travel, over those course of 1 or 2 weeks at a time, you get to really get to know people. You spend a lot of time with them, you hang out with them, you do all sorts of things together when you're out on a trip, and that's where you really get to make a lot of friends outside of just the classroom or outside of projects.
Great. Thank you very much. How about Nora?
Well, it's hard not to repeat what you already said, but last week we were here with the. So when I came back to my country. So I came back to Argentina, and I was in an event that's called Sloan on the Road. So it's when a prospect MIT student for the MBA attend an event, and you have you have alumni from MIT, and when I was asked the same question, I said that I think one of the most powerful things that happened to me is that after spending 1 year with 120 people from 30 plus nationalities, I feel that, and this is something you build, of course, inside the classroom and outside, but I feel I have like a partner, to put it some way, that's also a friend, and I feel they're as committed as I am with my success. And the power of that might sound like a cliche, but because you read this in many brochures when you're thinking of applying to an MBA. But a couple of months ago, I had a business meeting with a Japanese person here in Argentina, and I picked up the phone and I had tons of advice on how to handle. The Japanese culture is very particular and strict, especially for someone like me. I mean, we're from opposite sides of the world, and having first-hand advice from people that not only, spend time with you studying, but are also friends, that's very, very powerful. And I have one of those in many places in the world, not only from my program, not only Sloan Fellows, but from the entire community at MIT. And that's something, if you're in international business, and even if you're not, it makes a lot of difference. After the program, and this is something also you build within and outside the classroom, is like I had a confidence from my year there. I always say the same story. I have my ring here, you see, the MIT ring, and it's something I remember every day, and it made a difference, 100% difference, really. And today is my second anniversary back in Argentina. I realized that just now, so it's a great day to talk about this.
Great, thank you so much. Inga, do you have something to add here? Activities outside of the classroom?
I would say that as an EMBA student who has class every 2 weeks or every 2 to 3 weeks, that a lot of time is spent outside the classroom. I spent most of my time studying, and the work that I did for the program actually was not in the classroom. It was outside, getting together with my classmates, some of them in Boston, sometimes traveling on my own to meet them in different places in the Northeast, or traveling by Google Hangouts to all meet together to do the work that we need to do. I think that it made me also a citizen of the world, more so than I was, because we had so many. You would think an EMBA program would have a lot of local participants, which there are several, but we had a tremendous number of people coming from all over the world to be part of the executive MBA class. So the world really came to us, I would say. And then the other experience that was a highlight of the program was our Go Lab, our global organizations class that took place over the course of a semester and culminated in a trip and a project that for me was done in Singapore and Seoul, which was a great experience. It was in an industry that I wasn't familiar with, but I learned a lot about, and had ironically a lot of parallels to healthcare. You wouldn't think digital storage would be something that have a lot of parallels to healthcare, but it did. And I learned quite a bit during my Go Lab. So it was an awesome experience and a great part of the program. So I would highlight the planned travel that's part of the program, I think, but then there's all of this other unplanned work and travel that can be done just as part of the program that you make out of the time that you're here at MIT.
Thank you very much. I want to remind you all that we are going to take questions from the audience, so I encourage you to use the Q&A function. You can often find it at the top of your screen to actually type in questions for any one of the panelists, including Laurel and Olivia and myself. Okay? Thank you very much. All right, so next question. You all have talked a lot about the community at MIT Sloan. All of our programs are relatively small in size, and I would love for you to talk about what that means, what we believe advantages of these smaller, tight-knit communities, and your own experiences about that. And why don't we start with Grace?
Hello. So the Sloan Fellows, at least 2016, our class this year is only about 121 students. I know that's a fraction of what the MBAs have, so much smaller than that. And at least over the summer, we get divided up even into smaller sections, so we can really get to know each other, spend time with each other, and also work in groups. So the experience has been fantastic, getting to know each other, learning from each other with people from 38 nationalities and probably almost the same number of backgrounds and industries. So that has been really, it's been ramping up, really working together and learning from each other in those sizes. I don't know much about what other universities or programs have, but I know the Sloan Fellows itself has been quite a compact and good size of people. And 2 months in, we're still getting to know each other. So I think we have another month for the summer before we get split up and start mixing with the other programs over the fall and spring semester.
Thank you. Jessica, what about the MBA? Our MBA class size hovers around 400 students. What does that mean to you in terms of the size of the class and the environment, the culture that therefore provides?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, one of the key reasons I wanted to come to Sloan was because of the class size, and I think it does impact the culture in a lot of ways. So as other people have mentioned, it definitely makes for a more tight-knit community. And we in the MBA program also get split up into even smaller groups. So we have cohorts of about 70 people, and you take all your classes fall semester with these people. So you get a very, very good chance to get to know the 70 people in your cohort very well. And we do a lot of things together. And the program also encourages a little bit of friendly competition between our cohorts. So we have, for instance, the Sloan Olympics. And I must say that the Indian Ocean cohort, we won both Olympics with fall and spring semester. Very, very proud of that. So I think that is just an example of how the school tries to bring us together. We all feel very close to each other over the summer. We keep in touch. So someone in our Ocean had a great idea that this summer, every single day, one of the people from our cohort would send out an email to update everyone else about what they've been doing, whether that's their internship or their travels or just anything else going on in their lives. We've been able to even stay in touch over the summer and learn about what all of our classmates have been doing. So I think the small size really contributes to this feeling of camaraderie. I think it really helps us feel close to each other, and I think it makes it, honestly, just easier to coordinate a lot of things.
Ingrid, do you want to talk about the EMBA, which is also a class size now of around 120?
Yeah, I think the small class size and close-knit community are really important. You know, for the EMBA, you're also split into 2 different cohorts, which makes that an even more intimate sort of experience. And then those cohorts are shuffled throughout your time while you're at EMBA students. So you really get a chance to get to know everyone in your class very well. I think that that closeness really is a major part of the program. And I tell people that our professors at MIT are very important, obviously, but I learned as much from my colleagues and my classmates as I did from the professors that were part of the program. I think especially in the EMBA program, you have people who are accomplished in their given fields coming from different backgrounds around the globe, and the people that I went to school with were already extremely successful in their own right, and so I learned a tremendous amount from all of them, and it was very important.
So Inga mentions faculty. We take great pride in our faculty. We have world-renowned faculty in their field who not only teach their field, but also help shape the future of their field. I'm wondering if some of you could talk about relationships that you have built or experiences that you have had with some of our faculty. And I think I'm going to start with G.
Hi. Yeah, so I've had some great opportunities to get to know my professors. I would say off the bat, one of my favorite professors is my Intro to Operations professor, Tauhid Zaman. He's definitely taken the time to make our classroom experience really fun, adding in some rap songs throughout the way, stuff like that. But more personally, he's really opened up his time for me to come in and talk to him about my work and what I do. And even during the summer, we've kept in touch over email to correspond about what I've been doing with my business and how he can help me. So it's been a great opportunity to work with the faculty as well.
Great. Inga.
So I had the chance to work with Dr. Retzef Levy as part of the operations class that I took at Sloan, and that really was one of the reasons why I came to the program in the first place, was to be part of that. My interest is in operations efficiency in healthcare, so that was a seminal sort of experience of the program for me, and our work together has progressed past the degrees. So for the last year and a half, I've worked with Retzef on a project funded by Massachusetts General Hospital on improving operations through the cancer center and chemotherapy units, and that was really an outgrowth of the project that I did actually for my operations class. So I can point to many different projects that I took to business school to be part of the classes that have grown roots and leaves and have turned into the work that is currently sort of the basis of the expanded work that I do here at the hospital. So that was just one little tiny tree that was planted while I was there that has grown into a huge forest, and a program now that involves several different people in his lab and also here at the hospital. So that was, I would say, a highlight. And I keep in touch with many of the professors that were part of my program, and I call on them for advice and work together since the time that we've left. So I think I can think of another one. There's one of the professors I had for Allison Jacobs for a programming class. We've continued to collaborate together and are publishing a paper related to some of the statistical work that was done for the class. So I can think of several different examples, but my time at Sloan didn't end the day I graduated. It has continued, partially because I'm right across the bridge, I think, but also, even if I wasn't so close, I think that the projects that started as a student there would have continued, and I count the professors as friends and mentors now.
Okay, thank you. Nora? Anything to add on the experience with faculty?
Well, yes, something that's surprising that you don't realize until you're there, it's that the degrees of separation between the people you followed for many years and you becomes very narrow. Not only at MIT, I ended up writing a thesis excuse me, with Professor Roberto Rigobon, who teaches, I think he still teaches macroeconomics for Sloan Fellows. And, well, I wanted to find a thesis advisor. I was not sure because he's really, really busy. And I asked him for a meeting. I went to his office and I said, I have this idea. What do you think? I said, of course, I'm on board. I was not expecting that. And he was really... he helped me shape my future afterwards because, right, as I told you, I'm working in education that's completely unrelated to what I was doing before. And I think if I didn't have the support from him in the first place, when I told him my crazy idea, it would have made maybe I wouldn't be here. And another thing, that it's not only about faculty, but I was surprised of seeing how open everyone is at MIT, especially faculty. In general, they will give you their time and their attention, which is something I was not expecting. And not only at MIT, also in Harvard, I had a chance to not to work together, but to attend his class and to talk to Clayton Christensen, who's a world-known expert in innovation. and that's something that's really shocking in a good way. Okay, so that was my experience, and also very, very positive.
Okay, thanks. I think I'm actually going to start taking some questions now that have come through the group, and then we'll wrap up with some other questions, prepared questions. And to do this, I'm going to ask the question, and then I would love the panelists, for those of you who feel comfortable answering or think that you have something to contribute, for one of you to start talking. I think it'll work fine. So I'm going to begin with a question that says, I'm particularly interested in the emphasis in creativity and innovation. What classes or professors really emphasize the importance of creativity in the future of business? Anybody want to take this one? Great, Nora, thanks.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to point at one professor or one class that maybe I cannot recall right now. But what will make you think of innovation and creativity is the environment. I'm thinking right now about the Media Lab. I mean, just going there and walking through the passages of the Media Lab will make you think in a different way, will make you approach at problems in an innovative way. And that's what happened. When the good thing in my case is that I came back to the same work, the same job, same company, same co-workers. And I think in that environment, it's very easy to see how you have changed and the approach you give to problems, how you can take a step back and look at things differently, and something that you take with you even after you leave the program or you leave MIT. So it's hard to, I think the environment helps you to do what you're looking for. I don't know if I'm helping, but well, that's my take.
Great. Anybody else want to add to that? Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm not exactly so sure what, I guess creativity is such a relative word. It means a lot of things, but coming from a somewhat creative field, I was doing editorial photography at Condé Nast for a few years after school, and currently I own a floral and event design company in New York City, so what I do is extremely hands-on and creative, and I think that coming to MIT was just, it was mind-blowing for me because it really gave me the opportunity to, exactly what Nora was saying, kind of to just go into the classroom, take a different perspective onto my business, and even apply it on a day-to-day operations for myself. So I love what it has provided for me. I think it's important to understand a lot of the basics for business. So unlike Jessica, who was part of my core team, so I know she's an incredible mathematician and she's a great consultant. For me, I come from a very different field. I studied political science in undergrad at Wellesley College, and I've just been doing a lot of visual work since then. So going into the classroom, learning about counting, just basics like that, that the core really makes you hone in on, was a great opportunity. And now even with the electives that we're taking after our core, I even took taxes, which was with Michelle Hanlon, which was awesome because I can apply taxes not only to my own personal taxes, but even to my business taxes. So opportunities like that have been very enlightening for me.
Great, thanks. I'm going to go to the next question. And if you haven't realized this yet, these questions are actually crowdsourced. So even if you're not typing an original question, take a look at them. If it's something that you too want to hear from, click on that, because we definitely will pick them based on how many likes they get. So next question. For those of you who are entrepreneurs in the group, and I know we just heard from one of them, do you feel that you have access to VCs and other potential investors? And I'm going to add to that, actually I'm going to combine a couple of questions. Do you believe that the E&I track would provide the skills that you need to jump a career in an incubator or VC? So a little bit about what it's like to be an entrepreneur at MIT Sloan, and the services that are provided to you and the resources. Nobody? Yeah.
Well, I'm not going the VC route just yet. I'm still trying to finish up Sloan here, and I don't want to be a MIT Sloan dropout. So I am taking the time to really enjoy my classes and take some more time to work through what I really want to do with my business. That said, I think that there's I was doing the E&I when I first started at Sloan. I took the Intro to Tech entrepreneurship class, which all E&Is go through. It was a great class. I really enjoyed it with Ed Roberts. I just decided that I wanted to open up my electives to other opportunities. So I sort of dropped the track, but I'm still taking a lot of entrepreneurship courses, such as New Enterprises I took last year, which was a great class where we actually build a business from ground zero. So that was really fun, and I had the opportunity to work with a lot of my peers from different industries and listen to their input for a flower design business, which was really cool. I also do venture mentoring service, which is an MIT. I guess it's an MIT service. It's open to the entire MIT community. So that service allows me to meet with mentors. I meet with them about every other month, and I sit down with them for about an hour and talk through just founders' journeys, issues that I have, and even just very specific entrepreneurship issues that I'm having. So that's a great opportunity as well. And the Merton Trust Center for Entrepreneurship also. Open door policy, I go in and talk to the entrepreneur in residence, Josh Foreman, who has listened to me for hours upon hours talking about all sorts of questions that I have, even about VCs and stuff like that. I can't really speak much to the VC community at MIT, but I know that a lot of my classmates have had the opportunity to talk to a lot of VCs in the Boston area, so that's been really great for them.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yep, Nora?
Well, I wasn't thinking of any new enterprise when I was at MIT. I did afterwards. I think the MIT, let's say, batch will open doors, certainly, and I have some examples from my classmates who had access. It's not that MIT is going to set up a meeting for you, but you have some credentials to go out there, and maybe they will listen a little bit more because you're coming from there. That's my view. But I cannot tell, because it didn't happen to me, but I know of other people who's been doing that, and okay, it opened doors. What I can tell is that if you sell an email from @mit.edu, it will certainly open doors. I had that not with the VC, but when I was writing my thesis, I wrote to a very, very high-profile people. They didn't know anything about me, and they replied the email. So that speaks for itself, I think.
Thank you.
And do you mind if I can add something for the EMBA, if that's all right? So we had actually an alumni here this weekend who talked about this, how while he was here that he wanted to make sure to get to know the rest of the classmates, and he had a startup that he started at the beginning and grew during the program, and that classmate actually recently bought the company, bought his startup. So that is something that we see a lot of, getting to know your classmates and using them as resources here in the EMBA program. So.
Thank you. Okay. Next question is, what is one thing that you would change about how, I'm going to ask everybody, I'm going to go down the line here. What is one thing that you would change about how you prepared for Sloan or your first semester at Sloan? And what is one thing that you're really glad you did? So let's begin with Grace. This should be top of mind for you.
So one thing that I did to prepare myself was a bit of geeky stuff. I brushed up on some mathematics before coming over, but I think it definitely helped. The summer for the Sloan Fellows is extremely intense. There's a lot of new subjects, especially for someone like me who doesn't have a pure business background, so the accounting, economics, all of the numbers. It's been 10 years since I last went to university, so that was very useful. And the other thing that I'm also glad I did was take time off to travel, which was again quite good because it is quite intense. Sorry, going back to your question, did you ask me if there was something I would change about how
Well, the question was really about how you prepared for Sloan and what are you really glad that you did. So I actually think you've addressed that.
Excellent, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Jessica, how about you?
I am really glad that I caught up on all of my sleep before hitting fall semester. So I would absolutely say, as most people would, I think, that before you start an MBA or just start school in general, you should really take a little bit of time to reflect. You know, unplug from your daily realities, from that daily churn, and think about, what do I want to get out of this? Because, you know, a 2-year MBA is an investment of time. It's certainly an investment of money and other resources. So it's very important, I think, to, even if you don't know what exactly you want to do or what you want to come out of the other end looking like, to have some idea of what it is that you're really searching for in the program, and to think of just very introspectively about how you can benefit from the program. And also, like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a crazy ride, especially fall semester with core and with all the million things going on, with all the FOMO, with everyone trying to get to know each other. It's very important to catch up on your sleep before you start that.
Okay. G, what did you do to prepare?
Well, I really like the fact that I took pre-orientation. So I took several classes. I think it was a week. It was a week long worth of classes in econ. I think it was math and statistics and accounting. I've never taken an accounting class in my life before, so that was really important for me to take. And the last economics class I took, I think, was microeconomics in my freshman year of college. So for me, just getting used to sitting in a classroom for 8 hours. I think we were going like one after another for those classes was really great, especially after having just been running around the New York City flower market for the last 3 years. Just sitting down and focusing again was great, and it also allowed me to hang out and just to meet some of my new peers. So just starting that process, the MBA program is 350 students and full-time MBAs and 50 LGOs. And even though those numbers are small, it takes quite some time to get to know everyone. So I really like the pre-orientation that I did. And also everything that Jessica said, get some sleep and get ready for a crazy few months right when you get onto campus.
Thank you. Inga, what did you do?
Well, I think my answer will be a little bit different. I think maybe it's the time in my life when the EMBA came along, but a lot of the EMBA students and preparing for a lot of travel with the EMBA. So I think do is spend some time with your family. It's really important. I think it's also important to really prepare them for what being away every other weekend or every third weekend is really going to be like life. So part of that is preparing for childcare and for planning trips and just putting some of those things in order. I think it goes a long way, and people who had some of the best experiences did some pre-planning where that was concerned. Also, I would say because of the structure of the EMBA, I really saw that a lot of my classmates who had prepared their work for the EMBA really got a lot out of the program. So what I mean by that is not only preparing your superiors, your boss, your work for your absences, but also making a list of all of the things that you really want to change about the place that you're in, what projects you want to be working on, what aspirational projects do you have, what do you want to be more involved with. I mean, having that list by my side as I entered all of my classes was really important, because for almost every class in the EMBA, you're asked to sort of apply it to the work that you do. So having sort of a pick list of things that either I was involved with or wanted to be involved with that I could use for every class was really important, and I was able to kind of go through that and build what my future was going to be like once I was finished with the program. I'd also say one of the other things that I did was I connected with a few of my classmates prior to starting the program. I had heard, through the grapevine of different people that would be in my class through friends of friends, and they got a name from the admissions team. And that was really helpful before class started, just to know a few friendly faces when you show up on campus for the first time. So I believe there's probably organized ways to do that as well, but I think that was really important. And as far as studying, at the time, I'm not sure if this is still done, but there was a few online resources that were made available the summer before we started to brush up on some of the core skills for business school. Coming from a medical background, I, like some of the other panelists, had never taken accounting or some of those classes beforehand. So at my own pace, I went through some of those online classes to brush up on some of those skills. I don't know in the end if that helped a lot, but it made me feel better when I got to class, which I think is really important. You want to feel comfortable and ready to learn when you get there. So whatever you need to do to put you in that frame of mind is, I think, the most important thing.
Thank you. Laura, anything to add? I don't want you to feel left out. No? Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is great. Thank you all so much for submitting these questions. So our next question is, what work, business opportunities has Sloan opened up to you that you don't think were possible prior to actually going to MIT Sloan? Inge, you want to take that one or no?
So I can think of several right off the top of my head. I was very slotted in what I did. Obviously, I've said this already. I'm a physician. I work at a hospital. I never really envisioned myself outside of that role other than advancing my administrative career. But Sloan bust open the doors in terms of my vision for my future. I think that one of the things that's changed is I have a pretty active consulting life now. To the limits of my contract with my primary employer, I do a tremendous amount of consulting and being requested to do more than I can actually fit into my life. So. And that expertise was born out of the projects that I started when I was there in operations and healthcare. I think that if you're a primary subject matter expert in whatever field you're in, I think that Sloan gives you the opportunity to figure out how to create the ties across industries to leverage that expertise. And so I am on a few different boards of different startups. One was a startup that was started by a colleague of mine when I was at Sloan. And then I also do several different consulting projects on healthcare operations. So that's one very tangible way my life has changed since doing the program. And I also think in a more existential way, I think one more nebulous way that my life has changed is that I see myself differently. I used to see myself very slotted into a career in healthcare and being a practicing physician for the rest of my life. Right now, that works really well for me, but I see that the world is really infinite and that there's a lot of possibilities beyond whatever I thought was possible for myself before. So that it gave me sort of a confidence to think of the future as really limitless, and that while I thought my career was very hemmed in, it really is quite broad. So
thank you. Anybody else want to take this one? Okay. So the next question, I'm actually, if it's okay, I'm going to take the liberty to modify it slightly. The question is, has Sloan ever observed any gender differences? I'd like to actually focus on you all in your individual and personal experiences. Have you ever observed any gender differences in terms of classroom participation, rankings, any outside opportunities? And have you observed any changes that have been made recently as a result of the article that came out in 2012, 2013 from HBS during your time here? So really the focus is for you each as individuals, have you observed any gender differences in the classroom, in clubs, in the community, job opportunities, any at all? Nora.
Well, my answer is very short. Not at all. Not at all. I never, I mean, in a negative way, if that's the way the question is done. No, I never felt any difference. No. No,
Okay.
that's all I have to say. I don't know the article you're mentioning. I've never read it. I would like, if you can email me afterwards. No.
Okay. Somebody else. Anybody else want to take this one? Yeah, please.
Sure. So I agree with Nora that I don't think there's anything that's super overt. I think the school does a really, really great job of being very inclusive, and I think that also comes with having a smaller program, because it's not like you're going to get lost in the crowd. And in terms of class participation and things like that, it seems like it's fairly evenly split. And I mean, class participation is a part of our grades anyway, so I guess everyone feels motivated to share their thoughts. So I haven't really seen anything that way. And then, of course, there are a lot of resources and a lot of focus these days on gender equity or equality. SWIM, which both G and I are involved in, is very, very prominent. It's probably the biggest club, I think, at Sloan. And we're always looking for more ways to make sure that people feel like they're very much a part of this community. The only thing I would say where you would maybe see gender differences, it's self-selection, right? Because there's, I don't know, what is it, like 70 clubs, and there are some that probably have more men, there are some that may have more women, but that's more a result of self-selection, what careers that people are interested in. But I haven't seen any form of overt or covert discrimination, anything like that. It's just, some people might have certain interests that lead them toward one track or one club or one type of job when they're recruiting. But that's just choices that we make on our own.
Thank you. Anybody else want to take this one? No? Okay. Let's see. So this next one is, I think most of us are sold on Sloan. Any recommendations from an admissions standpoint? And maybe let me briefly speak, and I'll have Olivia and Laurel very quickly as well. My best advice to you is to be yourself, be true to yourself. At the end of the day, we're trying to assess, your ability to be successful in the classroom, but also whether or not, from our perspective, it's a good fit, which hopefully is something that you are evaluating and assessing as well as you're going through this process. Olivia or Laurel, one of you want to add as well?
I can say that I would echo that. We want to make sure that it's a fit for you. It's a fit for us, and through the application process, through the interview process, as Inga mentioned, you learned that about being on campus. You know that these are your people. This is where you're supposed to be. But through the essays, just show us your personality. We really like to get to know people that way.
Mm-hmm. Laurel? I think you're on mute, Laurel. You have to unmute. You're still on mute. Yeah.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Okay. I echo my colleagues as well. The only thing I would suggest, where the Sloan Fellows program is a very unique program, and there's just a few of these full-time programs geared towards mid-career professionals. Really research the program. Really understand why it is that this program is something specific to what you're looking for, in addition to what my colleagues said about really just be yourself.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask all of our panelists one last question. I'd like each one of you to give one piece of advice as our audience is going through this process of looking at and applying to business school, whether it be for the traditional 2-year MBA, the 1-year Sloan Fellow, or the executive MBA. What's that one piece of advice that each one of you would give? And let's begin with Grace.
So my piece of advice in making the applications would be go with your gut. Like many have said, make sure you're researching it. But if it feels right, then just put all of your energy into it. Be yourself, be authentic in those essays. And when you're picking people who are going to recommend you, make sure they also really understand your passion for the program, why you want to do it, and make sure they know you well. It's not just people who you think would impress MIT if they heard from these people. Make sure these people really support you and really understand why you are coming here, is what I would say.
Thank you. Inga?
I'll pass on a piece of advice that was given to me, I think, before I started, which was to really think about what you want to be like when you're done with the program. I think, and part of that is in really finding those mentors that you can sort of use as your North Star, and some examples of, it doesn't have to be exactly your industry or exactly what you're going to do, but how does that person rise to the top? How do they conduct themselves? How are they, and why are they respected? I think going through that process of really thinking about how you want to change and what you want to learn will make the time that you spend devoting yourself to this process much more fruitful. And the other thing I'd say is that it goes by so fast. You're into the program, you've decided on the program, and then you blink and the program's finished. And I think that having your eye on the prize in terms of the rest of your life, what you want to bring from the program to the rest of your life, is something that makes the program work for years and time after you're finished with it, and it'll be done before you know it. So spend some time thinking about that before you get started.
G?
I think for me, I waited a while to apply for the MBA program just because I wasn't so sure if I needed it or if I really wanted to invest a huge chunk of change to go to the program. And I think one word of advice for anyone applying for the MBA program or even hopefully coming to Sloan is to really know that for a lot of us, this is the last educational part of our lives when we get to be back in the classroom, and to really think about where you want to be and what kind of MBA experience you have. I noticed from my research, visiting different campuses, going to different interviews, that every program has a very specific feel, and not every program is for me. So finding that right fit, it's almost like dating, I guess. Like, just there's a lot of great fish in the sea, but just really figuring out what program is the right program for you, and wanting to be there and investing that time and that money is important. So come to campus and see if you love it. Reach out to the people on campus, even to swim members. Jessica and I would love to speak with you to ask us about our experiences and to ask us any questions you have. I think is really important.
Thank you. Jessica?
So I think it's important to keep a balance between knowing what you want to get out of the program on the one hand, but also staying open to opportunities and new possibilities. So knowing what you get out of it, I think, is important because it is an investment of time, money, resources. So you want to walk away from these 1 or 2 years feeling like you got what you came for. Like, I wanted to take these classes, I wanted to learn about these subjects, I wanted to meet these people, I wanted to be in these clubs, and to have some idea of what maybe your focus or interests are. But then on the other hand, you don't want to wall yourself off. And like for me, I came here trying to be kind of open. I'm a career switcher like 70% of my peers, but I wasn't 100% sure what career I wanted to go into. So I recruited for a variety of different things: leadership development programs, tech marketing, consulting, and I just tried to keep an open mind, to keep looking around, bring in more information, and just keeping that balance between knowing, okay, I do very much want these 3 things, but I also want to make sure that whatever comes up, I'm ready to give it fair consideration.
And finally, Nora.
Well, I think it's a year, for me, it was, someone told me this, it's a year to be honest, and that can be scary too. And it's a year to be, I think, in a way, selfish in terms of, I mean, if you're going to be doing this, make sure you're just doing this, as Inge said, like, you have to prepare your family, prepare the people surrounding you to, I mean, you're not going to be there, because if you're going to do it 100% and put all your energy in what you're doing at it's a very stimulating place. So you better do it with your 100%. And another thing, it's a concept that comes from Buddhism, and it's mindfulness. So that year was the most, I've never been as present as I've been while I was doing the program. It's like it has to do with the 100%. If you're just doing that, if you're focusing on that experience, I think you can make it even more powerful than it already is. So that's my view on this. And that's the thing that was the most important thing that I still couldn't replicate outside of MIT. I'm still working on that, but I think it makes a big difference if you're completely focusing on what you want to do afterwards, and why did you go there in the first place? And I would do, as Inge said, I would write a list. I think that's very helpful, and you will laugh at the list when you're done, for sure.
Thank you. I want to thank all of our panelists. I'm actually sad to say that our hour is over, but hopefully this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of our Women's Week. We have 5 live panels going on throughout the U.S. throughout this week. We also have our Fall Women's Ambassadors Day on December 3rd. So you can actually come here to campus, you can attend a class, you can meet with current students, you can have lunch with folks from admissions. We are continuing to be involved. I did not mention earlier, but we are a sponsor of Forte, and we are involved in all of the Forte fairs. There are many, many ways to connect with us, and we would love for you to do that. So I want to thank all of you from across the globe who have joined us today, and we look forward to getting to know you even better. Thank you.
Thank